It's the Sports Peninsula podcast. Coming up, we're going to look back at the 2013 Michigan State High School Football Division IV Championship game that saw the Marine City Mariners defeat heavily favored Grand Rapids South Christian 49-35 in front of thousands of Mariners faithful. We'll look back at the game with former head coach and author Ron Glodich and with the man who called the game on Fox Sports Detroit, the radio play-by-play voice of the Detroit Tigers, Dan Dickerson. Join us in reminiscing about a true David versus Goliath story coming up next. Now, here's your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is Dave Brzezinski Drew, and I'm joined by my partner and co-founder of the podcast, Coach Andy Shield. Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Drew. Doing well. It's a lot of fun coming back and talking about Mariner football. We always really like to play and talk about Mariner football when we can. How special that was, and and when you have Coach Ron's book, and Run to the River, which is just a real special publication and piece of literature, let alone being about Marine City football. It's gonna be a lot of fun talking about this.
Yeah, it's really great to reminisce about this. A really special game, special team, special community, and it's gonna be fun to talk about. So let's bring in our guest right now. We're going to add to the stage. First, up in your upper left-hand corner, Coach Ron Glodich, Michigan High School Football Coach Association Hall of Fame member and author of A Run to the River and coach of that 2013 Marine City Mariner State Championship team. Coach, how are you?
I'm great and excited to talk about not only this book, but everybody that's involved in that night, that Friday night after Thanksgiving. It was just a magical atmosphere that I love to rehash here.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun talking about. And to join us, of course, is the man who called the game and radio voice of the Detroit Tigers, Dan Dickerson. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
My pleasure. It's been a lot of fun to reminisce about this game and watch that game back. I knew the final score, but man, to see how that game played out and how scoreless after one for Marine City and the way they came back and just big play after big play. It was a lot of fun to remember all that, and I had remembered a lot of it anyway, just because it was such a good story.
Yeah, it was a great story. For me personally, I was listening to it. I was working in Massachusetts at the time, and I was working a second shift. I had it on iHeartRadio the second half. That's how I was listening to it. But can't wait to talk about it. Let's jump into it, guys. Coaches. I'm going to start with you and Coach Ron. That road to Ford Field. I mean, you guys really ran the gauntlet. And I know you're going to talk about it. You were not the favorites to win. Obviously, you were contenders, certainly, but not the favorites to win. But talk about the road to ultimately Ford Field.
Yeah, it was Mick McCabe, who's been doing high school sports forever. I don't know at what point, maybe the district championship picked against us. And he continued to pick against us at every level there. And when we finally got to the state championship, I said, don't you dare change that. You continue to pick against us. So every game, flat out, we were underdogs. And it was a credit to our senior leadership and our captains. All those kids knew how to do is the work. They knew how to put in this blue collar effort, and they just grinded all year long. And we had a couple young kids on the team that just kind of took off in the playoffs, and they got better and better as we got into the playoffs. But Country Day was heavily favored to win the whole ball of wax. We had them in the regional finals. And the funny thing I want to share about that Country Day game is our band actually played a role in that. I'm not sure how many high schools have a band that sits on the 50-yard line. Well, at Marine City home games, we do. And their band director, Dave, was such a big fan that he learned how to kind of mess with their check with me audible system, and to the point where the officials had to come over and tell the band to stop playing between snaps. It was a huge advantage for us to be playing at home that day.
A lot of gamesmanship, that's no doubt. Coach Shield, I mean, your thoughts on go ahead, Dan.
No, I was going to say, and the Lansing-Sexton game, just that was a Saturday that may have been the most miserable, like top to bottom in the state. Everybody playing in just miserable, cold, snowy. I don't know if it was a mix of rain and snow, but that's what I remember. There were some terrible conditions, and I remember John Wassink, the quarterback you guys had to stop. I mean, threw for 290 yards in those conditions, and I'm thinking, man, what's he going to do on a dry field? But that Saturday was full of bad weather.
Oh my goodness. I remember I caught flack from my wife because of the outfit I wore. She said I had baggy pants, like I had diapers on. I said, I don't care, honey. I want to stay warm. That's all I care about today. So yeah.
That's Coach Shield. You guys started out round one, Marysville, kind of a rival.
Yeah, well, I mean, just there was a lot of adversity. Things went really well for the Mariners that year. From the outset, we had a battle. We had a battle that ended at the inch line versus Richmond in Game 1, 42-38. That was how the season started. And Richmond, and we'll get to Richmond again here, but we would play Richmond 4 times between the 2012 and 2013 season. Then we went on a little bit of a run there where we had some success, and this was a potent Ring City football team. We felt that way, but we did not win our league championship in 2013. We did not win our local MAC Gold Division championship. We lost that to our arch rival and co-tenant of East China Stadium in St. Clair, our cross-district rival. So in the last 8 games of the season, including up through the into the state championship game, we were losing at some point in time. So I mean, 8 games in a row, including 2.
Wow.
Like we played Port Huron Northern the week after we lost to St. Clair, and we were losing 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. Things really. This team really learned to kind of do the Rocky Balboa, entrance of a competition here in the first 3 rounds. Don't go take some punches on. But as you were talking about, Drew, yes, we opened up with Marysville during that playoff run, and Marysville's very, very special football program in St. Clair County as well. We really kind of took the torch from them during the late 1990s. And that was the program that Marine City wanted to emulate. And that was and we wanted to replicate the success that Marysville had in winning all league championships, always qualifying for the playoffs, having playoff runs, and yes, eventually winning state championships. Marysville was that team. The Walt Braun area Marysville Vikings were amazing. And that was who we opened up with. And those guys are coached by former Walt Braun players on that staff, and we beat the Vikings for the 2nd time that year. And then in the second round, we played Richmond for the 4th time. We lost for the 4th time in 2 years, Dan. We lost by 1. I wasn't on that staff in that first one. I came to Marine City I'm from Marine City, but I came to Marine City in 2012, and I got hired at the very, very, very beginning of the school year. So I actually coached 1 game for Clintondale in 2012, and then the rest of the games for Marine City. But at any rate, getting back to Richmond, yes, we lost by 1 in the regular season in 2012 and 1 in the playoffs. 2 points total. We won by 4 at the goal line, and with no time left, we kept them out on a quarterback sneak and won that game 42-38. So this is now the district final. Great Richmond football team. This was one of Richmond's best eras of football. And we had the Blue Devils again. This time we won by a couple of scores. So we won our district championship, and this is, very important. We wanted this group to walk away with a championship. Sometime we thought we were so good. At this point in time, that was the first championship we had won of the year. So that leads us into Country Day. And, we don't have to get into that Country Day has been a successful athletic program. It's a school all in all, but we know the alums pretty well, definitely in basketball, but also in football and some other sports. And it was a magical evening. But Dan, a play in that game wound up on This Week in the NFL on Fox, and Mike Pereira talked about a catch made in that game, which was amazing. And we prevailed. And that's when the team over talent mantra, which we'll get into in the future, really, really kind of became a label and almost a motto, kind of a crusading statement of who we were. And then we get to Lansing Sexton, Ortonville Brandon High School. And it was about 15 degrees when we got there. I mean, you're right. It was just windy and cold, all flurries. And that Lansing Sexton team, if you're familiar with the movie Friday Night Lights and Dallas Carter and that team that Permian plays in the state final, the Lansing Sexton Big Reds took the field, Dan, like they were they're all red, big kids. I mean, they're just like, oh man. And the wind and the cold, this is the highest scoring offense in Lansing public school history. I mean, Moose and Muhammad, all, Randy Kinder, all these great players and teams that they've had there. Final score 12-7 Mariners. and it was something else. And here we go back to Ford Field. For the second time in 3 years, and for the third time ever against that team from Grand Rapids, and you saw that game. And John Wassink, that was the last game I never rooted for John Wassink. Dan, Dave and I are Broncos, so he went to Kalamazoo and made some history for himself there. It was a fine quarterback for Western Michigan after that.
Yeah,
it was that magical evening that took place. So yeah, there's a lot of adversity to that run. That was It definitely is a story that can be told.
So Ron, you've got a team that's been behind in every game during the year. In the playoffs, you're facing guys that they know, the kids know, they're huge underdogs, and every time they find a way to win. What are some of the motivational? What are some of the psychological tricks, or was it just plain talk to get these guys so that when a Lansing Sexton takes the field, they're not like, oh no, you clearly had these guys not only ready, but believing they could beat anybody. What were some of the things that you remember, kind of key moments, or just some of the tactics you used to talk to your team?
Well, Andy brought up, the Rocky Balboa comparison there. And believe it or not, that was something that we used as a motivator all year long. We said the way we conditioned, and these kids had a conditioning program in the summer where they dedicated themselves twice a day, that they were going to be the best conditioned team, that ever came out of Marine City. So we said, if we could stay with the team, if we could keep the score close and we could stay with them, then our conditioning and our strength training will take over in the fourth quarter. And it was such a mature senior class that understood, go with the roller coaster, ride the punches, do what you got to do, but just keep chopping wood. And I've never had a set of captains, Pete Salas, Kevin Fitzsimmons, Alex Adams, Kent Rivera. I've never had a set of captains that controlled the team as well as those four guys did. They kept everybody in check. And if something happened on the field, they weren't afraid to grab a face mask and look them in the eye and say, hey, that won't happen again. They took that team into the fourth quarter. And once we got to the fourth quarter, if the game was close, they knew their conditioning was going to take over. So literally we used that Rocky IV. Is that all you got? Is that all you got? Well, that phrase came up again and again and again. Is that all you got? So,
and that's a powerful thing, isn't it? I mean, when you believe, you know what, we put in all that work, we're going to be the best conditioned team, and now we get to show it every single week. And it just sounds like they embraced it. It's just because I can't even imagine. I mean, nobody in the state thought you could beat Country Day, right?
No, I'm going to use a little visual. Yeah, I'm going to use a little visual here. The number of Division I players that came out of Country Day versus the number of Division I players that came out of Marine City. That's what we were up against. And that, to me, that's one of the most gratifying wins I've ever had in my whole career.
Yeah.
Because, oh my, the way it ended, the way the crowd, the community was involved. Oh my gosh. And then the end of the game, Andy will tell you, they had a chance to get the ball back at the end of the game, and we had to stop them. And one of their Division I running backs probably crossed the field 4 times before we brought him down. And you talk about a crescendo of emotion that happened once we got him down. Oh my goodness.
That play that play, I mean, it was a play. This kid just wouldn't go down. And it just was a testament
to going this way, breaking a tackle, going this way, breaking a tackle, going this way.
It was a testament to the hustle of the Mariners and the athletic ability of Country Day, because I think that play went on for 35, 40 seconds. And this kid just was running around. He was always corralled, but we couldn't get him tackled. And finally, it did happen. But in both Marine City State Championship runs, Country Day played a part. It was a regional final in 2013. They defeated Country Day in 2007 in the state final. And the Division I football players, that 2007 Country Day team had 3 NFL players. So, we had Benny Fowler, who's a longtime Denver Bronco, won a Super Bowl ring, I believe, with Denver. Mr. Jonah Gray, Mr. 4 touchdowns in an NFL playoff game for the New England Patriots, Notre Dame Fighting Irish alum, and Kenny Demmons from Michigan played for the Cardinals for a period. So that team had, I want to say, 4 Division I players on it. Their quarterback played for 2 different Big Ten schools. So so we played against 2 major Division I quarterbacks in that playoff run. And guys, we still have a player still playing from that playoff run in the name of Rayshon Jenkins, the safety of the Cleveland Browns, who is a Central Michigan alum and is still around his 10th or 11th year in the NFL. So there's some talent played in that run.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Dan, let's kick this off literally and figuratively, no pun intended. But with the first female to score a point in a state championship game, also set a school record for extra points in the year in that game. Talk about Olivia Viney.
Oh, I love that story, and watching it back made me smile from ear to ear because of the way she was smiling. So she kicks the first extra point, and we talked about her a little bit, and she was making history, but the background story was so good that, she would come over, Ron, and she knew that she wasn't quite good enough as a junior, went to work, did the hard work, and earned that spot in the fall of her senior year. She'd come over for what, 20 minutes. The whole team would gather around her, and then she would do her thing for a little bit, and then she'd go back to playing soccer. I love the story. I love the shots we had of her, the smile. You couldn't wipe that smile off her face after the first one, but then she just kept hitting extra points.
And
extra points in that game, and I think she was going into the game, so I think she finished 60 for 64 in that senior season.
And the 4 misses, Dan, were bad snaps. So I said in the book, I said literally she didn't miss a kick because it were bad snaps. All the other failed attempts were bad snaps. But when I went back and watched that game and I heard your call and the way you described it, I got emotional because it was just a wonderful blend of the visual of her doing it and then your actual call of it. It was such a perfect moment. But she was tiny. My goodness, she was tiny, 5'2", and I didn't realize till I watched the game over again, she kicked aggressively and hit those balls with a boom and went through the uprights
through the middle of the uprights every time.
Exactly.
Loved it. Love that story.
Attacked.
Yeah, she did.
That was a great story. Just awesome to hear that. But Coach Ron, at the beginning of the season, let's go back to the beginning. You had a problem, but it was a good problem. But you had a problem. You had a first-year quarterback who was a transfer from Port Huron Northern, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and coming into a Marine City tight community, you had to make a decision at quarterback. Talk about that.
Well, first thing, his name was Alex Merchant. He didn't want to come. Mom and Dad bought the funeral parlor in town and basically told him, "We're making the move. You're going to live with us. If you live with us in Marine City, you're going to have to play for Marine City." He was a spread offense quarterback that could throw the ball, as good as anybody we had, but he had never taken a snap under center. Never taken a snap under center.
That's incredible.
So Marine City, that's all we do. We take our snaps under center. So obviously, Andy will tell you, some of my coaching methods are a little bit unconventional. I have this Jekyll and Hyde part at practice. Every time I looked at him and Josh Elbow, who was our center, I told him, you better be getting snaps. Whenever you're not involved in a play or a drill, and I look over at you two, you better be getting snaps on your own. And those poor kids, they get a drink of water, and 2 seconds later, why aren't you getting snaps? Why aren't you getting snaps? So every second of that practice, I was chirping at them to get a snap. But Alex picked it up. He was a very intelligent quarterback, picked up things well. And then Jarrett, who was our returning quarterback, he wanted to compete for the job. And I had a special relationship with Jared. I thought the world of him. And he said, "Coach, can we talk about, me staying a quarterback?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, it's going to be a competition. And Jerry, you need to understand whoever is better, that's who's going to play that position. So literally until the first week of practice, there was still a competition going on. Who was going to be the quarterback? And I didn't make the decision. Jarrett came to me and he said, Coach, he's better. He's better. I want to do the other side.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kid does that?
Now he said, he's better. Let him play. And I said, oh my goodness, Jared, you will not regret this decision. I told him that, in August, you are not going to regret this decision, because he then became a two-way star for us. And it played out perfectly.
He was a star on offense. I mean,
oh my goodness.
As good as we've had.
As good as we've had. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 interceptions in that game too.
I did the maturity.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of adults who couldn't make that decision. That's a huge level of maturity there to be able to concede that. That's fantastic.
Special person.
Absolutely, Coach Shield. Lot of good skill players on the team, but the heart of that team really, and I've talking to you and Coach Ron for a lot of time about this game, about this team. That was that offensive line. Talk about how dominant that offensive line was.
Yeah, that was the star of this team. And when you play in team athletics, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about football or baseball or basketball, hockey, soccer, every team sport. When we get into the stars, that can get to be somewhat disingenuous, because the best teams, you can't say this star is the reason why you've ultimately achieved what you have. But with this team, you have Jarrett Matheson, you have Pete Patsalis, you have Alex Merchant, you have other people that were very talented skill position players. But this group in of itself comprised one of the biggest, strongest, smartest, most physical offensive lines in Marine City football history, all at the same time. Typically, we would have a player or two on some of our better teams that would be similar to an offensive lineman on this team. And we've had teams that made deep playoff runs that would not have a starter on that offensive line. That's how good they were.
They were just opening gigantic holes. Watching that game back, man. The backs were terrific, and they had some bursts, but the holes they were running through, it's like there wasn't contact on some place to 7-8 yards downfield.
Yeah.
Well, right. And I think what really set the tone for really that, and again, this is my second year, and the first off season I got to take part of with Marine City was this coming up season. Because like I said, I thought I was going to be at Clintondale High School right up to when the season started the year before. So, and I coached there. So I got to take part in the off season program. And I used to work at the old University of Michigan football camp, which was a week long. Coach Glodich did one of those camps with me. It's a great experience. You're there you stay in the dorms. You're there for 3-4 days coaching football with about 3,000 kids.
That's all 3,000.
Yeah, that was when Alex Merchant met his teammates at that camp, and and was doing some things with them there. And you could just see a synergy between them. As if they kind of had known him for a long time. And, most of those guys were seniors. Alex was a junior. And it was really interesting to see those kind of dynamics and them relate to one another and get some form of a bond and relationship that quick time. But getting into that, off-season program, that's the most competitive weight room I have been around. We had a former player who was finishing up his exercise science degree at Central Michigan University by the name of Ben Pauli. And Ben, if you Google search Ben Pauli, or if you go into YouTube and type in Ben Pauli, Ben is a legend in the regional powerlifting community. He's a trainer and co-owner of the Rochester Performance Gym. He's got a powerlifting club called Michigan Bar Busters or Bar Benders, one of the two. I apologize for messing that up. But and if you took a look at Ben, you can see that this guy is pretty good in the weight room. Ben's an interesting looking guy. And
he looks the part. He looks the part.
He's tremendously cerebral and wonderfully, he can really set the tone. And Dan, we'd go in this weight room and you felt like you were in an event. Felt like you were in a game, like some sort of, it was a competitive atmosphere. And this is just for lifts. This isn't for like who's getting the highest max or anything like that. And on that max day, I mean, some of the things were so impressive. Each one of those kids, we're talking about a Class B Division IV offensive line could bench press 3 1/4. All of them. Multiple bench. Our 2 guards could squat 500 pounds. You get in the 500-pound area, you're talking about Division I athletes. There are individuals, over in Allen Park that aren't putting up 500-pound squats. Wow. So, these kids were very, very committed to that weight room. And to me, this was probably in and around, I guess, maybe my 18th, 19th year of coaching at this point in time. And I had never quite been around a group that competed like that bonded like that worked like that in synergy with it and created a synergy on a daily basis. I felt that this was a unit at that time that could do something very special.
And I want to add one thing, Eddie. I always have, I would love people just to see this visually. Those guys had such a magical way of motivating each other with little jabs and little, comments and without crossing the line, where they would just create a fury in the guy they were going after to make him work harder and harder. It was such a magical balance that those kids had. It was cool to watch.
That's funny. That's good.
That is great. Let's go back to the game now, the second half starting off. And Dan, I want to ask you, what about that Starburst kickoff return for a touchdown to start that half off? Talk about that, if you would.
I love the spinning out of the block or the attempted tackle at about midfield, I think around the 45. And then I love that. And this is listening back to it. He got 2 great blocks, but there was one especially that freed him up for the last 40 yards. And this is where the spotter comes in. And I've got a spotter who pointed to that guy. And I want to say it was Trevor Quant. Does that sound right, Ron?
Yes, it does.
And so I love that. That's the beauty of the kind of the behind the scenes. You got a spotter. He's pointing to that guy and he's going like this, like he's the one who threw the block, because it was just, there were so many good things about it. First of all, the way it started, but then the spinning out of the tackle and then the block. It was a thing of beauty, and the replays were awesome. And John Wangler broke it down beautifully. That was I watched that back about half a dozen times because it was so well executed. But I always love those downfield blocks from receivers. Mm-hmm. You see this with the Lions all the time. We saw it. We saw it in the Michigan State game. Aiden Childs was running like 30 yards downfield to throw a block. I love it when you see stuff like that from, not offensive linemen, but guys who are just trying to help a teammate, a backer, a receiver. And that was really fun.
Yeah. And what's kind of interesting about the start.
Real quick, that spotter, you can tell you're talking to people from a small town, Dan. That spotter was my dad. It was. That's who your spotter was for that game.
Oh, that's awesome.
Who was the stadium announcer for Marine City at that time. So,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Great mentor for me. But the Starburst itself came from my brother Jim down in Texas, and we ran it since 1988. And I think you guys even mentioned it in the broadcast that most teams don't kick to us. And we get an interesting phenomenon when we get into the playoffs. A little bit of ego gets involved there. Well, they can't run it against us. They can't do that against us. So we get kicked to more in the playoffs than any other time of the year. That's a fact. That's a true story there. Yeah.
You must be like, thank you.
Yeah.
I noticed you guys weren't kicking to their guys.
No.
The first play of the game kind of showed why. The first offensive play of the game or the second offensive play of the game for South Christian showed why we didn't want to kick to them. About 60-yard pass for a touchdown.
Yeah, no doubt. Coach Ron, so now there's a humanistic side to this, right? The season, the game, the grind. I mean, you've got to be uber focused. You're teaching, you're coaching, you're preparing for such a big game. But then your dad had a life-threatening health scare with a bout of pneumonia. Talk about that and how that impacted you and how you were able to overcome that.
Yeah, so the Tuesday of the week preparing, after practice, I always check my phone, and and I see a text message from my Uncle Leo. My Uncle Leo is my dad's best friend, and Uncle Leo's son, Mark, is my best friend. So, rare that I would ever get a text from him and it says, Ronnie, we took your dad to the hospital. He's having trouble breathing. So, okay. Make a call to my brothers, make a call to see what's going on. And I went down and visited him 2 nights that week. And the second night I went down to visit him, which I believe was Wednesday, he had developed not only pneumonia, but he had developed sepsis, which is a blood infection, and he was hallucinating. And I walked into the room and he started to yell at me, and he said, "Why are you climbing the walls? Get down from those walls." It scared the crap out of me. Wow. To the point where I went and talked to a nurse, and I said, do I need to stay with him? Do I need to, forget about football for a little bit and stay with him? And she kind of reassured me that they were hoping that antibiotics would kick in. And I actually called my wife, and it's in the book, and she settled me down a little bit. And she said, they know what they're doing there. And he's going to be fine. So that was always in the back of my mind. And I even in the broadcast, I think they got interviewed at halftime. They asked how he's doing. And then immediately after the game, I said, I need to call and see how my dad's doing. But yeah, it's a credit to our coaching staff. They were able to keep kids on task, even though I had things brewing there. And it's a credit to that senior leadership group that made sure, regardless of what was happening with me, it was not going to affect their play.
Just a lot to overcome, but that's fantastic. I mean, but that mentality, and I think that's why the program's done so well, Coach. In my view, as a student watching you guys and seeing the success over the years, everyone's doing their job and uber focused, and it's mind over matter. It's easier said than done. Obviously, not everyone can do it, but that's a testament to how mentally tough everybody is in that program.
Yeah, we wouldn't do justice unless we talked about, our Andy and our mentor, Bob Siskevich, who I worked under right away. But that was his claim to fame, get good coaches and give them ownership. Give them ownership, and they're going to work hard for you. And he gave me ownership calling plays. I called plays for 25 years before I became a head coach. And, that ownership, I wanted to work so hard so I would not let him down. The ownership meant everything to us.
No, that's great. That's great.
Dan, you broadcast that game with John Wangler, and I was on the 7th floor too. I was coaching from the booth at that time, and from the coach's box, but I was not able to. And my eyes were located on that field solely. The sea of orange, the crowd. What did that look like from your perspective?
So that's on the opposite side, right? So yes. Away from the broadcast booths. And I mean, look at that. It's just, you get it for the Division I, Division II. I mean, Division IV, I don't know. That's got to be one of the bigger Division IV crowds I've ever seen. And I love it. That's why I love doing these games. I did these games for a long, long time, and just talking to the head coaches, getting a feel for what this team means, especially in the smaller divisions, right? What it means to the community. The story of it, what was it, Owen Salisbury, that you guys, a little 7-year-old boy who was fighting cancer, and you guys wore stickers. And the way it brings a community together, you hear about, I'm not sure if you guys did, but, leaving town, there's just the streets are lined and everybody's cheering the team leaving town on the buses. Mm-hmm. That's why I love doing these games. And I just thought the Marine City story was so good. And I mean, that's a turnout. Was there anybody left in town?
No, I think one of our realtors had on her bulletin board, please turn the lights off when you leave town for Ford Field. So, yeah.
That had to be one of the biggest crowds ever for a Division IV game. That was awesome.
We had heard that from a lot of staff that were working there, that they had never seen a bigger crowd there. So yeah, we had heard that from some Ford Field staff members.
That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat.
It was definitely loud on the broadcast. You could hear it definitely. So you definitely knew there were a lot of people there without question. Coach Ron brought up earlier the origin of team over talent. What does that mean, Coach Shield? Where did that come from?
Well, that statement was made by Coach Glodich in a pregame address before Country Day. And I don't think there was intention for him to, Coach Glodich did an outstanding job. He's a phenomenal writer, but he can speak and he can motivate a team like nobody's better business. And he was really going into how Marine City, we grew up together. Yeah, our mothers, fed each other, and other kids, and other dads would drive people to practice, and we took care of one another, and we played with one another from the 5th grade, 4th grade, as far as football goes, right up through the 12th grade. And that the local merchants and the local businesses and the local restaurants all want you to come in and feed you, and that the community and the team is so galvanized here. It's bigger than just the group that's in the locker room. And in the other locker room, you have a collection of athletes that were told that they were talented and that their talents were warranted to be put to play at this school so that they could win state championships. And that's about as deep as it got for them. Now, was there motivation? Sure. They were competitive athletes. They wanted to win a state championship too. However, it was a collection. It was a collection of people, not a community. And the team, the community, you'd take that all day long. That if you're going to have betting odds, in the end, that's where you want to be. That's the group that is galvanized. That's the group that will prevail. Team over talent. And he would take team over talent any day of the week. And that was exactly what he said there. And then boom, they hit that locker room door, and before you know it, it's 14-0 Marine City. So then that speech was filmed. Scott Whiting from Big Dog Media, which is a small little local guide, publishes things on YouTube. Does a great job. Really did a lot of things with Marine City football in and around that time. Was in the locker room filming that pregame speech. So in his cut up, in his cut up of that game, he'd cut something up and publish it on YouTube. Every week, a highlight film per se. I'll take team over talent any day of the week is in there. That part of that speech is in there. And before you know it, guys, there's the Vineys. Olivia's parents owned a sporting goods shop in town, and there's sweatshirts with team over talent printed on them, and there's all sorts of things that's kind of gone. It almost has a Forrest Gump like origin when it comes to to that thing that was said so inadvertently, but now is really the mantra of this team, and kind of became the logo and brand of this group. And that's and it's not just the 2013 team. We said that to motivate the 2014 team, 2015 team. My dad, would always text me the night before a game, and good luck tomorrow with the Mariners. Remember, team over talent. In the 2020s. So, and if you really think about that, that's who we are. That's not just Marine City football, but if you think about that, by and large, our Detroit professional sports teams are teams. They're not collectively bought free agent group team. We don't do things. We're not making massive trades at the trade deadline, like the Indianapolis Colts, or we aren't spending like the LA Dodgers or buying players off like that. We're collecting, but we're building them up, and that's why we feel like it's so tight knit from the fans all the way into the group, and that's really what Marine City football is all about. It's still that atmosphere. They play tomorrow night at Almont High School, and I can guarantee you there's going to be about 2,000 or 3,000 people there.
Yeah, and I want to say, just as we're getting close to the end here, is that that, and I wrote a blog about it that's on my webpage. That's really the best version of America, when you get these communities that disregard any other thing that's bothering them, and they come into a common goal, and they want to see the best out of their young athletes and the cheerleaders and the band members. To me, I don't know why it's football, but that is our best version of America, and that's something that I'm proud to be part of and was part of. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things, looking over our conversation and my notes, you said it's a school of 560, and there's 100 in the football program and 100 in band. I'm like, you're at a third of the school. More than a third of the school is participating in those two things, and I don't know. Just rereading that made me smile. That's you're right. The power of community is large, and you talk about this, even the proteins. I mean, look at the Lions. My goodness, there is something to. Scott Harris has talked about it with the Tigers. There is something to it. Sounds like a cliche, but you guys know it's not. When the whole is greater than the sum of the parts because of how this came together.
Yeah, and I want to add to that, Dan, because from our mentorship of Coach Bob, who really is the origin of this program, he made kids understand and he made coaches understand you're just one piece of the puzzle. You're no better than this person or that person. So we started a little tradition in our homecoming game that after the game, the band would play and our football players would go up in the stands and actually applaud and watch and enjoy the band's performance there. And when our kids would score touchdowns, you never ever saw them look into the stands. They would immediately look for teammates and try to hug teammates. And I couldn't be more proud of that. Their understanding of that concept. You're just one part of the piece of the puzzle. And as long as you're contributing and we all contribute on the same page, good things are going to follow.
Yep, absolutely, guys. Hey, this has been fantastic. I love hearing the stories. Dan, it's great hearing your perspective from broadcasting the game, and just tremendous having you on here. Thank you so much for joining and reminiscing with us.
It's a pleasure to be a part of this, and I so appreciate getting Ron the copy of the game so I could watch it again. And John Wanger's a good friend. I love working with him, but that was a heck of a game, and very, very fun to go back over it and reminisce with you guys.
Yes, and we all know that Dan Dickerson's voice will get goosebumps out of you, so we are so thankful to have Dan involved there. And it doesn't matter what sport we're watching. When he gets on his calls, we get goosebumps. So thank you, Dan.
Yeah, I can remember getting home at around like 4:30 that morning. I live in Shelby Township. And as the first thing I did, because I didn't know, I did not know that you were on that broadcast team. At that time, and I go, oh my! Now it really is special. The greatest guy that does these things on Friday and Saturday has got to do our game.
Yeah.
And, yes, I see. Dave said it eloquently. We're so thankful for you to come on, sir. We think the world of you. And
my pleasure. It really
thank
is fun to join you guys.
Yes, very good.
Thank you.
Coach Ron, thank you again. Great talking to you as always. We appreciate your support. Appreciate having you on the show. Coach Gio, always a pleasure. We'll be doing this weekly. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Don't forget the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube or the Sports Peninsula podcast. For Dan Dickerson, for Coach Ron Glodich, for Coach Andy Shield, I'm Drew. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Don't forget to pick up your copy of A Run to the River by Coach Ron Glodich, Silver Light Press publication. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. This has been the Sports Peninsula podcast. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can also follow us on X as well as Facebook so you don't miss an episode. When you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula podcast.